In a world where IQ is often celebrated as the key to success, there lies a deeper, more powerful force that truly shapes our lives: emotional intelligence. This book by Michael Caron reveals why mastering your emotions, understanding others, and building authentic connections can matter far more than raw intellect. Emotional intelligence is not just about being nice or sensitive. It is about unlocking the hidden skills that drive leadership, resilience, meaningful relationships, and real achievement. This is the art of knowing yourself and mastering the world around you. Chapter 1. The Power Beyond IQ. For decades, society has been obsessed with the idea of intelligence as a number, a score, or a fixed measure of how capable someone is. People with high IQs were expected to achieve greatness, to lead industries, to solve the most complex problems, and to live extraordinary lives. And yet, when we look around, we see a different story. Many individuals with brilliant minds fail to achieve satisfaction or success, while others with average intellectual abilities rise to remarkable heights. Why is that? The answer lies in the silent, often invisible force known as emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence is the ability to recognize, understand, and manage your own emotions while also being able to perceive and influence the emotions of others. It is a skill that transcends the rigid walls of academic knowledge. Unlike IQ, which may predict how quickly you learn equations or memorize facts, emotional intelligence determines how effectively you navigate relationships, overcome challenges, and lead yourself toward long-term fulfillment. Michael Caron begins by pointing out that intelligence alone is not destiny. He shares examples of individuals who are academically brilliant but socially disconnected, unable to work with teams, unable to communicate clearly, or unable to cope with setbacks. Their intelligence became a burden instead of a gift because they lacked the balance provided by emotional awareness. Consider for a moment a leader in a company who is incredibly sharp with numbers but dismissive of his employees' feelings. Over time, his brilliance may earn him promotions, but his inability to inspire loyalty or build trust will limit his impact. In contrast, another leader with moderate intellectual ability but high empathy may inspire a team to achieve far beyond expectations. This difference is not about knowledge, it is about emotional intelligence. The first chapter establishes a crucial truth. Emotions are not weaknesses to be hidden, nor are they irrational forces to be ignored. They are signals, data points from the heart and mind that guide us toward better decisions if we learn how to listen. Anger can highlight injustice. Fear can reveal danger. Joy can signal alignment with our values. But when left unmanaged, these same emotions can destroy careers, relationships, and health. Emotional intelligence is the art of harnessing emotions rather than being controlled by them. Michael emphasizes that emotional intelligence is not fixed. Unlike IQ, which is largely stable throughout life, emotional intelligence can grow and evolve. With conscious effort, anyone can learn to pause before reacting in anger, to listen deeply instead of interrupting, to comfort others in times of pain, and to motivate themselves when challenges feel overwhelming. This is why emotional intelligence is often called a soft skill, though in truth it is one of the hardest and most powerful skills anyone can master. Scientific research supports these claims. Studies have shown that people with high emotional intelligence tend to perform better in the workplace, earn higher salaries, and report greater happiness in relationships. In fact, some researchers argue that emotional intelligence accounts for nearly 80% of the qualities that distinguish high performers from average ones. While intelligence may open the door to opportunity, emotional intelligence is what keeps that door open and allows people to thrive once they step inside. Chapter 2. Understanding the language of emotions. Emotions are often treated as mysteries, waves that crash into our lives without warning, leaving us either exhilarated or destroyed. Yet, at their core, emotions are a form of language. They are signals from our bodies and minds, evolved over thousands of years, designed to guide us towards survival and growth. To ignore them is like ignoring a warning light on the dashboard of a car. You may keep driving for a while, but eventually the engine will fail. To understand emotional intelligence, one must first learn how to interpret these signals. Happiness signals alignment, a sense that our actions are in harmony with our goals and values. Fear warns us of potential threats. Anger alerts us to violations of boundaries or injustices. Sadness helps us process loss and build compassion. Each emotion carries meaning, and when we fail to interpret them correctly, we lose the opportunity to respond wisely. Michael Caron emphasizes that the key to emotional intelligence is not to suppress emotions, but to become fluent in their language. He draws a comparison to learning a foreign language. At first, the words may feel strange and their meaning unclear. With practice, patterns emerge. The same applies to emotions. When you feel anxiety, instead of drowning in it, pause to ask, what is this feeling trying to tell me? Perhaps it signals that you are unprepared for a task or that you care deeply about the outcome. Instead of fighting the emotion, you can use its message to guide action. Emotional literacy also helps us read others. A furrowed brow, a slight hesitation in speech, a subtle change in tone, all are emotional cues. People with high emotional intelligence pick up on these signals and respond with empathy. Those who lack this awareness often misinterpret others, creating unnecessary conflict. This ability to read the room is one of the most valuable skills in personal and professional life. Emotions, however, are layered. Sometimes anger masks fear. Sometimes sadness hides under silence. Michael urges readers to go deeper, to ask not just what am I feeling, but also why am I feeling this, and what lies beneath. This practice leads to profound self-awareness. By decoding the language of emotions, we begin to see ourselves more clearly, and in doing so, we develop the power to change the narrative of our lives. Chapter 3. The balance between heart and mind. Human beings often imagine a battle between logic and emotion, as if the brain was split into two warring camps, the rational mind versus the emotional heart. But Michael Caron argues that this view is flawed. Emotions and reason are not enemies. They are partners, and emotional intelligence is the art of uniting them. Logic without emotion is cold, detached, and often ineffective in motivating action. Emotion without logic is chaotic, impulsive, and often destructive. Together, however, they form a powerful synergy. Consider decision-making. Studies show that people who suffer damage to the emotional centers of their brains struggle to make even the simplest choices. They can list pros and cons endlessly, but cannot decide what to eat for lunch. Emotion gives weight to options, providing the why behind our choices. On the other hand, unchecked emotion can lead to reckless decisions, spending money impulsively, lashing out in anger, or staying in harmful situations out of fear. Balance is the key. Michael introduces the idea of the inner dialogue, a mental space where logic and emotion converse. When fear whispers that a challenge is too big, reason can counter with evidence of past successes. When logic says the numbers don't add up, empathy may remind us that people's feelings matter too. Those with high emotional intelligence cultivate this inner dialogue instead of allowing one voice to dominate. To practice this balance, Michael suggests techniques such as pausing before reacting, writing down thoughts and feelings, or seeking outside perspective from trusted mentors. These practices create a buffer, allowing the mind and heart to align. Chapter 4. Self-awareness, the foundation of growth. Every journey into emotional intelligence begins with a single step: self-awareness. Without it, all other skills crumble. Self-awareness is the ability to observe your own emotions in real time, to recognize patterns of thought and behavior, and to understand how your inner world influences your outer actions. Michael Caron compares self-awareness to holding up a mirror, not a mirror of vanity, but one of truth. It is the courage to see yourself as you truly are, without denial or illusion. Many people move through life on autopilot, reacting to situations without understanding why. They get angry at criticism, anxious before speaking, or withdrawn when stressed, never pausing to ask, what is driving this response? Self-awareness breaks that cycle. By naming emotions, we strip them of some of their power. Saying, "I am feeling anxious," creates distance between you and the emotion, allowing you to observe it rather than drown in it. Michael explains that journaling is one of the most powerful tools for developing self-awareness. Writing down thoughts and feelings each day uncovers patterns. You may notice that certain people, environments, or tasks consistently trigger certain emotions. Once identified, these triggers can be managed. Mindfulness is another powerful practice. By sitting quietly and observing thoughts without judgment, you train yourself to notice emotions as they arise instead of being swept away. Over time, you learn that emotions are not facts, they are signals. This realization empowers you to respond with intention rather than impulse. Self-awareness also involves acknowledging strengths and weaknesses. Chapter 5, Self-Regulation, Mastering the Inner Storm. If self-awareness is seeing the storm, self-regulation is learning how to sail through it. Emotions are powerful forces, but with practice, they can be guided. Self-regulation is the ability to control impulses, manage stress, and channel emotions in productive ways. It does not mean suppressing feelings. Instead, it means creating space between feeling and action. Michael Caron illustrates this with the story of a surgeon. In the operating room, pressure is immense. Fear, stress, and even frustration are natural responses. But a skilled surgeon cannot allow those emotions to dictate behavior. They must remain calm, focused, and steady-handed. This is self-regulation in action. In daily life, self-regulation shows up when we resist snapping at a colleague, when we pause before sending an angry email, or when we breathe through anxiety before a big presentation. These small acts of control ripple outward, shaping reputations and relationships. Michael shares strategies for building self-regulation. One is the practice of delayed response, pausing for a few seconds before reacting. Another is reframing, viewing challenges as opportunities for growth rather than threats. Physical practices, such as exercise, deep breathing, or even taking a walk, can also diffuse emotional intensity. Importantly, self-regulation is not about perfection. Everyone loses control at times. The key is progress, not flawless composure. Each moment of restraint strengthens the habit of control. Chapter 6, Motivation, the Drive Within. While self-awareness and self-regulation form the foundation of emotional intelligence, motivation provides the engine that drives growth. Motivation in this context is not external rewards like money or praise, but an internal drive to pursue goals with passion and persistence. Michael Caron explains that emotionally intelligent people are fueled not by short-term gratification, but by deeper purpose. They set goals that align with their values, and this alignment generates lasting energy. Motivation is what keeps someone working late into the night on a project they believe in, or training every morning for a marathon despite the pain. This kind of drive is sustainable because it is rooted in meaning. Michael contrasts intrinsic motivation with extrinsic. Extrinsic motivation, working only for a paycheck or recognition, may bring temporary effort, but rarely endures. Intrinsic motivation, driven by curiosity, growth, or contribution, creates resilience. Even in failure, motivated individuals learn and keep moving forward. He highlights the role of optimism in motivation. Optimism is not blind positivity, but the belief that effort leads to improvement. Optimistic people see setbacks as temporary and specific, rather than permanent and personal. This perspective fuels persistence. Michael suggests practices for cultivating motivation. Setting clear, achievable goals creates direction. Breaking large tasks into smaller steps creates momentum. Celebrating progress reinforces commitment. Surrounding yourself with supportive people builds energy. Motivation is contagious. Being around others who are passionate inspires passion in yourself. The chapter also acknowledges that motivation naturally fluctuates. Even the most driven people face periods of fatigue or doubt. Chapter 7. The Power of Empathy. Empathy is one of the core pillars of emotional intelligence, yet it is often misunderstood. It is not merely about feeling sorry for someone, nor is it about mirroring their emotions. True empathy is the ability to step outside of your own perspective and fully imagine what another person is experiencing. It requires listening not only with your ears but also with your heart, noticing subtle changes in tone, body language, and even silence. When we cultivate empathy, we open a channel of deep human connection that allows trust to flourish. Imagine a leader who does not just give orders but understands the struggles and motivations of their team members. Such a leader inspires loyalty and creativity because the people under their guidance feel seen and valued. On the other hand, a lack of empathy creates cold environments where individuals feel like replaceable pieces in a machine. Developing empathy takes practice, slowing down conversations, asking meaningful questions, and resisting the urge to judge too quickly. In personal relationships, empathy is the glue that keeps bonds strong during conflicts. Chapter 8. Emotional Regulation in High Stakes. Situations. Life constantly throws us into situations where emotions run high: arguments, crises, deadlines, or unexpected disappointments. Emotional regulation is the art of maintaining balance when everything around you feels chaotic. It does not mean suppressing emotions. Suppression leads to internal explosions later. Instead, regulation means managing emotions in a way that serves rather than sabotages you. Consider the difference between someone who loses control in an argument, shouting and insulting, versus someone who takes a deep breath, pauses, and responds thoughtfully. The first burns bridges, the second preserves respect. Techniques for emotional regulation include deep breathing, mindfulness, reframing negative thoughts, and focusing on long-term goals instead of immediate frustrations. Athletes train their bodies to remain steady under pressure, and we must train our minds in the same way. High emotional regulation allows us to face challenges with clarity and composure. This skill can mean the difference between making a rash decision that causes damage and making a strategic decision that leads to progress. It empowers you to be the calm center in the storm, influencing others positively rather than being consumed by the chaos yourself. Chapter 9. Social Awareness and Relationship Management. Emotional intelligence extends beyond self-awareness and self-regulation into the external world of relationships. Social awareness is the ability to read a room, to notice the unspoken dynamics between people, and to adapt accordingly. It is understanding that every interaction is layered, words carry one meaning, tone carries another, and silence speaks volumes. A person high in social awareness can sense tension before it erupts, can detect enthusiasm before it is expressed, and can adjust their approach to match the emotional climate. But awareness alone is not enough. Relationship management is the application of this awareness to build and sustain meaningful connections. This involves conflict resolution, effective communication, encouragement, and collaboration. Strong relationship management skills transform ordinary interactions into opportunities for growth and partnership. In the workplace, they create environments of trust and mutual respect. In families and friendships, they allow bonds to endure over time. The truth is that no matter how intelligent or skilled you are, if you cannot manage relationships, your influence and opportunities will be limited. Social awareness and relationship management, when practiced consistently, turn acquaintances into allies and colleagues into committed teams. Chapter 10. Emotional Intelligence in Decision-Making. Decision-making is often thought of as a purely rational process. Gather information, analyze data, weigh options, and choose. Yet in reality, every decision we make is influenced by emotions. Emotional intelligence equips us to recognize these influences and use them wisely. Fear, for example, can cause hesitation and missed opportunities, but it can also highlight real risks we must not ignore. Excitement can inspire bold moves, but can also blind us to potential pitfalls. The key is to strike balance, allowing emotions to inform but not dominate decisions. Leaders with high emotional intelligence consult both logic and intuition. They are not afraid to acknowledge the emotional weight of a choice while still grounding their actions in reason. Imagine choosing whether to end a partnership, accept a job, or relocate to a new city. Emotions will always play a role. Instead of pretending they do not exist, emotionally intelligent decision-makers bring emotions into the light, examine them, and then integrate them into a balanced judgment. In this way, decisions are not only smarter, but also more aligned with values and long-term goals. Emotional intelligence in decision-making creates outcomes that feel both right and wise. Chapter 11. The Role of Motivation in Emotional Intelligence. Motivation is more than simply having goals. It is the inner fire that fuels persistence, resilience, and vision. Emotional intelligence recognizes motivation as a driving force that shapes not only our success, but also our well-being. People with high emotional intelligence do not rely solely on external rewards like money or recognition. Instead, they cultivate intrinsic motivation, a deep sense of purpose that pushes them forward even when the path is difficult. This type of motivation allows individuals to stay focused when others give up. Imagine an entrepreneur facing repeated failures. Chapter 12. Building emotional resilience. Resilience is the shield that protects us from being broken by life's inevitable hardships. Emotional resilience is not the absence of pain or struggle, but the ability to recover, adapt, and grow stronger after adversity. Those with high emotional intelligence understand that setbacks are not permanent failures but temporary tests. They regulate their emotions during crises, find constructive outlets for stress, and lean on supportive networks instead of isolating themselves. Consider the story of someone who loses their job unexpectedly. An individual without resilience may spiral into despair, but a resilient person reframes the event as an opportunity to redirect their career and explore new possibilities. Chapter 13. Emotional Intelligence in Leadership. Leadership is not about titles or authority. It is about influence, inspiration, and to unite people under a common vision. Emotional intelligence is the foundation of effective leadership because it determines how a leader connects with their team, navigates conflict, and motivates performance. A leader with high emotional intelligence listens actively, communicates clearly, and treats each team member with respect and empathy. They recognize emotions not as distractions but as signals that reveal needs, concerns, and motivations. Such leaders do not simply manage tasks, they manage people's hearts and minds. They know when to push for excellence and when to offer support. Contrast this with leaders who lack emotional intelligence. They breed resentment, fear, and disengagement, even if they achieve short-term results. Over time, emotional intelligence creates environments of trust, creativity, and loyalty, where people willingly give their best. In moments of crisis, emotionally intelligent leaders remain calm, providing stability when others panic. In moments of triumph, they celebrate their team rather than claiming all the glory. Leadership without emotional intelligence may achieve compliance, but leadership with emotional intelligence inspires commitment. Chapter 14. Emotional Intelligence in Conflict. Resolution. Conflict is inevitable wherever human beings interact, whether in families, friendships, or workplaces. What distinguishes healthy relationships from toxic ones is not the absence of conflict, but the way conflict is managed. Emotional intelligence transforms conflict from a destructive force into an opportunity for deeper understanding. At its core, conflict often stems from unmet needs, miscommunication, or clashing perspectives. Emotionally intelligent individuals approach conflict with empathy, patience, and a willingness to listen. They resist the impulse to escalate tensions with anger or defensiveness. Instead, they ask clarifying questions, seek common ground, and remain open to compromise. Conflict resolution requires emotional regulation, staying calm when provoked, and empathy, recognizing that the other person's emotions are just as real as one's own. In workplaces, conflict managed with emotional intelligence strengthens teamwork rather than weakening it. In personal relationships, it deepens trust because both parties learn they can disagree without destroying the bond. Ultimately, emotional intelligence teaches us that conflict is not a battle to be won, but a bridge to be built. Chapter 15. Cultivating emotional intelligence as a lifelong practice. Emotional intelligence is not a skill one masters once and for all. It is a lifelong practice of self-discovery, growth, and adaptation. Just as physical fitness requires ongoing exercise, emotional intelligence requires consistent attention and effort. Cultivation begins with awareness, recognizing emotions as they arise and understanding their impact. From there, it expands into regulation, empathy, resilience, and relationship management. Every interaction becomes an opportunity to practice, choosing patience instead of frustration, curiosity instead of judgment, compassion instead of indifference. Emotional intelligence grows stronger when we are intentional about reflection, asking ourselves daily, how did I handle my emotions today? Did I listen deeply? Did I respond with integrity? Over time, these small acts of awareness shape character and influence the way we impact the world. The journey never ends because life never stops presenting us with new challenges, but those who commit to cultivating emotional intelligence live richer, more connected, and more purposeful lives. It becomes not just a skill, but a way of being, guiding decisions, relationships, and personal growth with wisdom and grace. Chapter 16. The intersection of emotional intelligence and physical health. Emotional intelligence is not confined to the mind, it profoundly affects the body. Stress, anxiety, and unresolved anger weaken the immune system, disrupt sleep, and increase the risk of chronic illness. People with high emotional intelligence recognize these connections and actively manage their emotions to protect their health. They practice stress reduction techniques, set healthy boundaries, and approach challenges with balance instead of panic. For example, someone with low emotional intelligence may let workplace stress consume them, leading to burnout and illness. In contrast, someone emotionally intelligent acknowledges the stress, finds constructive outlets like exercise or mindfulness, and seeks support when needed. Emotional intelligence encourages habits that nourish both body and mind, restful sleep, mindful eating, and meaningful social connections. By integrating emotional awareness into daily routines, individuals strengthen resilience not only emotionally but also physically, creating harmony between mind and body. Chapter 17. Emotional Intelligence and Relationships. Relationships are the heart of human life, and emotional intelligence determines their quality and depth. Friendships, romantic partnerships, and family bonds thrive when individuals can communicate openly, empathize sincerely, and manage conflicts respectfully. Emotional intelligence allows people to listen without judgment, to validate feelings without necessarily agreeing, and to prioritize connection over ego. Imagine two partners in disagreement. Without emotional intelligence, the argument escalates into blame and distance. With it, they pause, acknowledge each other's emotions, and search for understanding. Emotional intelligence in relationships also means recognizing patterns, such as defensiveness or withdrawal, that harm intimacy and intentionally replacing them with healthier responses. Over time, emotionally intelligent relationships build trust, safety, and mutual growth. They are not free of conflict, but they are rich in repair and resilience. Ultimately, emotional intelligence transforms relationships into spaces where individuals can be fully seen, accepted, and loved. Chapter 18. Emotional Intelligence in the Workplace. In modern organizations, technical skills may secure a job, but emotional intelligence determines long-term success. Workplaces are ecosystems of diverse personalities, goals, and pressures. Emotional intelligence enables individuals to navigate this complexity with effectiveness and grace. Employees with high emotional intelligence collaborate better, adapt to change more easily, and contribute to a positive environment. Managers with emotional intelligence lead with empathy, balancing accountability with support. For instance, instead of scolding a struggling employee, an emotionally intelligent manager explores the underlying issues, stress, lack of clarity, or personal challenges, and provides constructive guidance. Emotional intelligence also drives innovation because people feel safe to share ideas without fear of ridicule. Companies that value emotional intelligence enjoy lower turnover, higher engagement, and stronger teamwork. In the workplace, emotional intelligence is no longer optional. It is a critical skill that determines whether individuals and organizations thrive or struggle. Chapter 19. Overcoming Barriers to Emotional Intelligence. Developing emotional intelligence is not always easy. Many people face barriers such as denial of their emotions, fear of vulnerability, or ingrained habits of defensiveness. Some were raised in environments where emotions were dismissed or punished, making it difficult to even recognize feelings in adulthood. Others struggle because they equate emotional intelligence with weakness. The truth, however, is that emotional intelligence requires courage, the courage to face one's inner world honestly and to engage with others authentically. Overcoming barriers begins with self-reflection, asking oneself hard questions, journaling, or seeking feedback. It may also require unlearning patterns of avoidance and practicing vulnerability in small, safe steps. Emotional intelligence grows stronger when people embrace discomfort as part of growth rather than something to be feared. By acknowledging barriers without judgment, individuals open the door to transformation. Chapter 20. The Future of Emotional Intelligence. As the world becomes increasingly complex, emotional intelligence will only grow in importance. Technology can automate tasks, but it cannot replicate empathy, resilience, or genuine human connection. Emotional intelligence will be the defining skill of the future, shaping how leaders inspire, how teams collaborate, how individuals find meaning in their lives. It will influence education, workplaces, healthcare, and even global diplomacy. Children taught emotional intelligence from an early age will grow into adults who navigate challenges with wisdom and compassion. Societies that value emotional intelligence will create healthier, more connected communities. On a personal level, cultivating emotional intelligence ensures that no matter how the external world changes, individuals will have the inner tools to adapt, connect, and thrive. Emotional intelligence is not just about success, it is about building a life filled with depth, connection, and purpose. Conclusion. Emotional intelligence is the art of mastering the self while connecting deeply with others. It weaves together awareness, regulation, empathy, resilience, and purpose into a powerful framework for living. Unlike fleeting achievements or possessions, emotional intelligence shapes the essence of who we are and how we impact the world. The journey never truly ends. It is a lifelong practice of growth, reflection, and compassion.